Greetings everyone. I, Candida Narona, along with my team members, would like to present our personal communication and ethics project on conflict management and negotiation. This project was prepared by Brendan Lucas, Aditya Mahamuni, Manubala Subramanian, Kaustubh Mishra, Austin Mudaliar, Dhananjay Nair, Akshat Nayak, Sven Narona, and me myself, Candida Narona. This project is majorly divided into 8 subtopics. Firstly, introduction, conflicts in the workplace, curse or blessing, the strategy and management of conflicts, negotiating, the case study and the survey conducted, the role of power in negotiation, tactics at the end of negotiation, and conclusion. Austin will now be introducing us to the topic of our project, handing it over to him. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Austin Isaac and today my team's topic is conflict management and negotiation. So let me give you a brief introduction on what our topic is. Conflict is a process in which people disagree over significant issues, thereby creating friction. So when people with different work interests come together at various firms and organizations, or even children at school, or students in colleges or universities, there's a high potential for disagreement to take place. And this difference of opinion is termed as conflict. Conflict may be in various forms. It may be personal, it may be political, or it may be even cultural, etc. And the best way to tackle a conflict is through negotiation. Negotiation is a discussion aimed at reaching an agreement between both the parties. The need for negotiation in our generation is of utmost importance as it maintains peace and equilibrium between both the parties. And thus, in an ideal scenario, negotiation is our best solution to solve a conflict. Now we will hear more on our topic. I'm handing it over to Brendan and Aditya. They will speak on conflict in a workplace.
Thank you, Austin, for introducing our viewers to our presentation theme, conflict management and negotiations. I, Brendan Lucas, would now be explaining conflicts in workspace and should we consider them as a curse or blessing. In this section, we are going to take a look at the different sources, different stages, various effects, and consequences of conflicts in workspace. Personal and organizational factors can both contribute to conflict. Some conflicts are purely due to personal factors. These conflicts arise due to multiple reasons. Reasons can range from difference in perception to personal history and cultural beliefs. Personal conflicts are mostly dysfunctional in nature and must be avoided in any organization. However, some conflicts are caused by the structure of the organization. These are called as organizational conflicts. These conflicts, if well managed, can be fruitful to the organization. Let us see some of the main sources of these conflicts. When the goals of the parties involved are incompatible or mutually exclusive in nature, though incompatibility conflict occurs. Without discrepancy among the employees leads to conflict among the employees. When the executives are uncertain about the direction of the company or doubt each other's capacity, then the conflict occurs among them. Interdependence in tasks or decision making leads to power struggle and fight for supremacy among employees, which leads to conflicts. And when resources are limited or scarce in an organization, different groups compete for resources, leading to conflict. Once a source is found, the conflict goes through multiple stages. Let us take a look at the different stages of conflicts and see how conflict develops. The first stage is potential opposition. Here, all the conditions for a conflict are created. Then we have the personalization stage. Here, the parties observe signs for conflicts. Confirmation bias plays a critical role in this stage. The third stage is intention. In this stage, the parties weigh the pros and cons and different outcomes of a conflict and decide their approach to face the other party. The behavior stage is when the conflict becomes visible to all. The exchange of words and gestures, and in severe cases, even physical violence. The fifth and final stage is outcome. Here, the true cause and effect of the conflict come to light. Now, I would ask Aditya Mahamuni to explain the next section about how performance is affected by conflicts. Over to you, Aditya.
Thank you, Brendan. I hope you all have a good idea about sources of conflict and stages of conflict. I, Aditya Mamani, would now be explaining conflicts and performance and consequences of conflicts. Let's start with conflict and performance. Conflict and performance in an organization can have positive and negative effects. The positives are as follows: identification of issues or problems. It forces change in parties. It ignites curiosity, leading to innovation and strengthening of the team or group members. Whereas the negatives are as follows: excessive pressure within the parties, team fragmentation, wastage of precious time, and physical and mental illness. Moving to the next topic, the consequences of conflict. Let us see what a conflict means to an organization. Conflicts can be classified into two broad categories: functional conflict and dysfunctional conflicts. A functional conflict can play a major factor in the success of an organization, while a dysfunctional conflict can be the reason for the downfall of the company. Let's look at the effects of these two types of conflicts. Effects of functional conflicts are as follows: high energy on the project, driver of innovation, increased group coordination. Whereas the effects of dysfunctional conflicts are as follows: lack of cooperation, loser effect, bad or distorted judgments, and wastage of resources. The next topic, that is strategy and management of conflict, would be explained by Candida Norona. Handing it over to her.
Thank you, Brendan and Aditya. Hope you all have got an idea about the sources and stages of conflict and how conflict affects performance. I, Candida Naruna, would now be explaining the strategies and management styles to prevent and reduce conflict. Each one of us must have probably got into an argument with a colleague at some point. Conflicts in the workplace can come from a variety of sources. It arises as a result of differences and will occur in any situation in which people must interact with one another. Dealing with conflict effectively is a key management skill. Here are 5 different approaches to conflict management and the situations they are most appropriate for. Collaboration. It involves concern for satisfying both our needs and the needs of others. People with this personality focus on openness, cooperation, and information sharing. They emphasize a win-win approach and finding a solution that is best for both parties. Collaboration can be used when the issues are complex and input and information is required from others, when commitment is needed, when long-term solutions are needed. Competition. Competition is characterized by a high level of assertiveness and a low level of cooperation. Individuals who consistently employ this style are preoccupied with their interests, disregarding the needs of others, and viewing the world as a zero-sum game with winners and losers. They see conflict as a sport and their goal is to win. Competition can be used when the issues are trivial, when all solutions are unpopular, when others lack expertise, when issues are important to you. Accommodation. The individuals who rely on accommodation are willing to put their own needs aside to meet the needs of others. Accommodation may be beneficial in the short term, but it can be detrimental in the long run. If one party consistently accommodates while the other person's needs and concerns are met, the accommodating party will eventually grow resentful of the other. Accommodation can be used when the issues are trivial, when issues are important to you, when your knowledge is limited, when there is a long-term give and take, and when you have no power in hand. Avoidance. The person who uses it to resolve conflicts does not meet their own needs or the needs of others. Instead, they avoid the issue and refuse to look into the conflict's causes or solutions. People can avoid conflict by creating a physical barrier between themselves and the conflict. Avoidance can be used when the issues are trivial, when conflict is too high and parties need to cool off. Coming to compromise. People who use this style investigate issues to some extent before shifting to a give and take position in which there are no clear winners or losers. Everyone gets something, but not everything he wanted. This style emphasizes negotiation and diplomacy. Compromise can be used when the goals are incompatible, when parties have equal power, when a quick solution is needed. Coming to conflict prevention and reduction methods. Conflict is destructive in nature. As a result, immediate measures are necessary to resolve it. One may choose to manage conflict by focusing on specific behaviors or attitudes. The behavioral approach focuses on simply stopping the conflict inducing behaviors. It does not delve into the conflict's origins or examine its sources. The outcomes are frequently quick and short term, and they are useful if the parties in the conflict aren't independent and can limit or avoid interaction. Some methods which follow the behavioral approach are enforcing rules, separation, and clear tasks. The attitudinal approach focuses on emotions, beliefs, and behaviors to address the source of the conflicts. It takes longer than the behavioral approach, but it has the potential to resolve the conflict permanently. Some methods which follow the behavioral approach are member rotation, increasing resources, or rewarding cooperation and team building. The next topic, that is negotiation process, would be explained by Sven. Handing it over to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Candida. I guess you all have got a good idea of different strategies and managements of conflicts. So my name is Sven Naruna and I will be explaining you the next topic, that is negotiating. When there is a conflict between two or more parties, negotiation comes into the picture. So negotiation is a process in which two or more parties come to a mutual agreement and both the parties are benefited by that. So to reach the final state of agreement, there are different type of negotiation processes. So basically, there are main four phases of negotiation. The first one is investigation and preparation. Here we identify the issue and gather all the factual information like other parties' interest, their holdings, and so on. So now moving to the next phase, that is the second phase. This phase is the presentation phase. Over here, we present our initial offers, and most important thing during this presentation is the manner in which we portray ourselves to get the right image. So proceeding to the next phase is the bargaining phase. Over here, the negotiators uses some negotiating skills to achieve the intended objective. Now, the next and the final phase is the agreement phase. Here, the agreement is done and negotiation process comes to an end. So this is all from the negotiation process. And the next part is the negotiation strategies, and it will be explained by Manobhala. So handling over to him.
Thank you, Sven. Hope you all have got an idea about the negotiation process. I will now be explaining negotiation strategy. A negotiation is a strategic discussion that resolves all issues so that both parties have profit. Here are four important negotiation strategies that may be used in business and our day-to-day life. Trust and collaboration. It involves coordination and cooperation for problem solving so that both achieve a win-win outcome. Trust happens through interdependence in our team. Open subordination. In open subordination, openness and smoothing style are the best style of conflict resolution. This strategy is used when the outcomes are more important than the relationship. Firm competition. It is an aggressive strategy used by managers to concentrate on their own solution so that they can achieve win-lose outcome. Active avoidance. This strategy is used when the negotiator doesn't consider interest in task or relationship. Often managers avoid negotiation because they are no priority in the result. The next topic is ethics and negotiation. It would be explained by Sven and is it over to him.
Thank you, Manovala. I guess you all have got a good idea of different type of strategies of negotiation. So I'm Sven and I will be continuing with the next topic, that is ethics and negotiation. So ethics plays an important role in negotiation. Sometimes parties follow some unethical ways or unethical behaviors to get more benefit towards them. So this shall be mostly avoided. So here are the some most ethical breaches to avoid in order of severity. The first one is selective disclosure. The negative information is not mentioned by the negotiators and they only emphasize on good information. So this shall always be avoided. The next is misinterpretation. Sometimes false statements have been made about the fact and the position, such as their low prices, so they are ready to accept it. The next is deception and lying. Here, inaccurate information is provided due to which there are incorrect assumptions and conclusions. The next is false threat and false promises. Negotiators provide misinformation about their actions and they may take actions they may take and concessions they are willing to take. The next is inflict direct and indirect harm. Here the negotiators intentionally sabotage or damage the opposing party's chance of success. So basically these are some major ethics that that should be followed during a negotiation. So our next topic is the case study and the survey which we had conducted. So it would be explained by Dhananjay. So handing over to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Sven and Manobula, for elaborating on the negotiation process and strategies and also the ethics involved in negotiation. So I'm Dhananjay Nair and let me present to you a case study on the Tata Mistry conflict. So, talking about the case overview and origin, on 24th October 2016, Cyrus Palunjay Mistry, then chairman of Tata Group, was abruptly removed from his positions. The day after his removal, he questioned the influence of Tata Trusts, controlling shareholder, and that of Ratan Tata, his predecessor. Issues relating to fraudulent transactions were also alleged by Mistry, which were refuted by Tata Sons. The objective of this case study is to discuss issues such as dysfunctional conflict between parties, personality clashes, role conflict, power and politics, and negotiation process. So, let's have a look at the analysis of this conflict between Ratan Tata and Cyrus Mistry. Ratan Tata has a type A personality, that is, willing to take risks, independent, will influence on subordinates, whereas Mistry has a type C personality, which means risk-averse, detail-oriented, approachable, and a warm image personality. Tata was 75 years old and considered an icon at Tata. It was his family business. Mistry was the first chairman in 74 years to have come from outside the Tata family. He was mentored by Tata. There is clearly a case for parent and child ego. Prior to the commencement of the fateful board meeting which would result in Mistry's ouster, Ratan Tata had spoken personally with Mistry and offered him a chance to voluntarily resign as executive chairman. However, Mistry had refused. This is an instance of a cross transaction. Upon his retirement as chairman, Ratan Tata was appointed as honorary chairman emeritus of Tata Sons. A day after his ouster from Tata Sons, Mistry wrote a letter in which he labelled himself as a lame duck chairman as he was unaware of Tata Group's venture into the airlines industry. With approval having been sought from Ratan Tata instead of him, there was ambiguity surrounding the role of honorary chairman versus chairman. Power source for Cyrus Mistry, according to Max Weber, was legal rational power and equalizing power with rational constructs, whereas for Ratan Tata, according to Max Weber, was charismatic power, traditional power, or reluctance to part with power. Now, the conflict resolution strategy in this case can be compromising strategy, which is about finding an acceptable resolution that will partly but not entirely satisfy the concerns of all parties involved. The models to handle conflict of interest can be prohibition model and disclosure and peer review model. The prohibition model discourages any arrangement, particularly financial, that might create a conflict of interest unless that arrangement provides a sufficiently countervailing social benefit. The disclosure and peer review model holds that conflicts of interest are unavoidable. Acknowledging potential sources of bias promotes an awareness of different points of view and the possibility of developing some kind of balance within, provided also that a strong peer review process is in place and that there are opportunities for secondary data analysis. Now, the discontentment between Ratan Tata and Cyrus Misri was mainly because of cross-transaction or the parent and child ego. In transaction analysis, according to the communication rule, cross-transactions are an interruption to the flow of communication. For the flow to continue, at least one person has to switch the ego state to enable a constructive flow and have a parallel transaction. When Cyrus was elected as the deputy chairman of Tata Group in 2011, Ratan Tata said in a statement that the appointment was a good and far-sighted choice, and also that he was being impressed with the quality and caliber of Mistri's participation. But his blue-eyed boy became his rival in 2016. Ratan felt compelled to remove Cyrus because he had either changed since becoming chairman or appearances to the contrary, notwithstanding, proved to be the wrong choice in the first place, whereas Cyrus claimed that various decisions taken by Ratan Tata were to satisfy his ego, which resulted in huge financial loss for the Tata Group. This showed a clear conflict of interest resulting in parent and child ego state. So that was all about the case study. Now, a survey was conducted among 50 people of various sectors like corporate, government, healthcare, education, and the following data was collected and analyzed. The questionnaire consisted of these following questions, and the key results obtained from the analysis were that around 82% of people agree to the fact that differences of opinion are helpful and beneficial for progress in a team. 73% of people believe that the most critical skill in conflict resolution is negotiation, and 96% of people think that the win-win outcome is the most desirable negotiation end result. Approximately 50% of people think that it is better to listen to others' perspective and give proper suggestions to deal with a disagreement, while the rest 50% believes in understanding conflicts, reason, and solve it. So that was all about the case study and survey. Now I request Kaustubh and Akshat to elaborate on role of power in negotiation. So handing it over to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dhananjay. I guess you all have an idea about case study and survey analysis. So I am Kaustubh Mishra, and let me present to you sources of power in negotiation. The genesis from where the power derives in a negotiation comes from various sources, and the extent we recognize these, perceive these, or have access to these will have to affect the level of power that's present. Some factor arise within the negotiation process that is usually stated as sources or forms of power. Position power. Position or title carries a form of legitimacy power, often cited as position power. This category includes positions, professional licenses, and degrees of education. When your counterpart knows that you are aware of their position power, it would be disrespectful to deny it. Reward power. Reward power can also be real or imagined. If you think that someone can affect you, that person has power over you. It can relate to tangible things or emotions. The authority to promote is another example of reward power. Referent power. It is referent power that sells a large volume of merchandise. People buy particular brands of sports shoes because they subconsciously identify within the famous athlete who wears the brand and they want to be like them. Referent power is closely associated with your personality and your style. Situation power. The facts and circumstances you face may occasionally be your advantage. In such situations, you must determine in your preparation stage whether there exists an acceptable alternative to a negotiated agreement. Identification power. Identification power is the power to relate to the other person. It is different from the referent power when you convey knowledge, empathy, cooperation, and admiration, as well as an enthusiasm to create a mutual solution. You create a power of identification. Persistence power. Quiet but resolved determination is a powerful tool in a negotiation. A plan rejected once is not necessarily dead. Using the persistence power is not constantly repeating the identical words. It is to resist giving up. It is to find several ways to define and support your proposal. It is to find additional shared benefits in your proposal. Patience power. Patience is often neglected as a power, but it can be the greatest power of all. Patience is also essential when analyzing your choices and preparing for negotiation. So that was all about sources of power in negotiation. Now, negotiating with someone more powerful than you. Let's now look at ways to take your negotiation forward
and when going up against someone or say some business that is more powerful than you. Control the conversation by using framing. Framing is a technique that relates to how you describe your offer, strongly influences how others view it. Framing is also how you can build a conversation around a particular point of the proposal. Another practice of framing is using the yes and yes response. Understand your goals and theirs. Create a list of what you want from the negotiation. This practice will help you decide what would cause you to step away so that you build your strategy within the agreeable terms. Listen and ask questions. The most prominent influential approaches you can deploy are to listen well, which develops confidence, and pose questions that encourage the counterpart to defend their positions. Now, I request Akshay to elaborate on power prompt section.
Thank you, Kaustubh, for that vivid explanation on sources of power in negotiation and negotiating with someone powerful than you. My name is Akshat Nayak, and my topic is power prompts action. So, in power prompts action, we have two subtopics: external and internal conflict negotiation. So, a skillful negotiator must be able to probe the mindset of an external dealer, which basically means that there should be no stones unturned between the two parties, and everything must be open in between them. This skill set is basically gained by experience with previous dealings, and it helps negotiate for a better price and get a win-win situation for both parties. An internal negotiator has the power to prevent rather than cure, which basically means that if he has a democratic mentality and unbiased opinions, he can basically prevent a particular conflict from happening rather than curing it. Now, conflicts are usually inevitable. So if a conflict happens, unfortunately, then what you can do is make a contract between all the employees so that in the future such conflicts do not occur. And this motivates the entire organization, the subordinates as well, and therefore it leads to better cultivation of ideas. And all of these qualities create a win-win situation. Thank you. I'll be handing it over to Manobala, whose topic is tactics at the end of negotiation.
Thank you, Akshat. Hope you all have got an idea about power prompt action. My name is Manobala, and I will now be explaining tactics at the end of the negotiation. For a successful tactic, firstly, you have to listen and understand other parties' issue and point of view. The best negotiators tend to be the one who truly listen to the other side, understand their key issue, and then give an appropriate response. You have to ask the right question to your party. Don't be afraid to ask the other party many questions. The answers can be informative for the negotiation. The question should be open-ended, like, what do you think? You should think about the best and worst outcome before the negotiation begins. Don't be upset if things don't go your way. In this instance, it's a good time to reevaluate all positions and return to the table. The bargaining trap is starting the negotiation too early before justifying your value. This is how a lot of money is lost either by discounting too early. That's why it is important to recognize the negotiation trap and learn how to avoid it. You have to ensure to make mutual concessions. You give something and you take something, and so does the other party. If well balanced, the conflict is functional and resources are well invested. Conclusion will be explained by Dhananjay and hand it over to him.
Thank you, Manobala, for elaborating on closing the deal and post-negotiation evaluation. I'm Dhananjay once again, and let me conclude this presentation by conflicts are not always bad. People often think that conflict takes a negative toll on a person, but in real, people can truly develop and let a character grow. By getting involved in conflicts, we get to know more about the other person and also become aware of their work and what makes them tick. The different conflict management strategies and models that we saw are not standalone and can be used together to find a way through the conflict more effectively. In negotiation, the process and goal are designed in such a way that it results in a mutually beneficial and acceptable solution, leading to decisions and actions which can resolve the conflict. Sometimes people, motivations, and even priorities change, creating a need to negotiate conflicts we did not expect. Problems and conflicts can be resolved effectively by taking the time to unite with each other and by continuing to know and learn about one another, which helps in reducing the impact of conflicts on others and also their effects on us and our business. So that's all for the presentation on the topic conflict management and negotiation, and I hope that you guys have got to learn a lot on this topic. Now, we want you all to think on which conflict resolution strategy would you prefer the next time you get involved in a conflict. Think on that. Thanks for listening.